if you had joined us in a previous webinar, you would probably have heard me talk about this a lot. And this is something that I talk about all the time in my innovation coaching, in my business strategy sessions, and also in the marketing sessions, is that the entrepreneurial journey is a search. You are basically going from a position of high uncertainty, and your goal as an entrepreneur is to reduce the risk of, or to eliminate some uncertainty until you can get to the point of reasonable risk. So a point where you are comfortable with the risk you're taking and it's reasonable, it's manageable, you can plan ahead of that. So how does that have anything to do with digital? Well, it's the same point. It's the fact that as you navigate from reducing your uncertainty and keep going down the curve that you see, you are also more than likely going to be increasing the revenue that you're generating through your business until you reach a sweet spot somewhere in the middle, where your uncertainty is reduced enough that your growth trajectory starts to rise above that uncertainty. And if you remember in that webinar, I was talking about the squiggly lines where you try this, you try that, you go this way, you come back, you pivot, you move. And then at that intersection is really when it starts to get clearer. So one of the important things is how to navigate quickly to the point of clarity so that you know what works and what is going to generate you income, and you are gradually reducing the uncertainty around your product or your service. So it's a process, and it's always that question of, I have a great idea. I want to have an online store for children because I know that there are X amount of children in my area who need access to good quality clothing, and the parents are overwhelmed and they're not having enough time to go into the stores to buy the clothing. I see that as a great idea, and I want to make sure that people can get access to good quality clothing. That's a great idea. But then how do you turn that into a solution that adds value for your customer, that will ultimately help your business to scale and grow? Well, the important thing there is the word customer. It starts with the customer in mind. The first and most important aspect of marketing in general is to put the customer at the center. Many times we spend a lot of time focusing on what we have to offer. It's a great product. Oh, yes, it's a wonderful piece of jewelry and it's made of 100% gold. Yes, but what's in it for me? Why am I going to get it? Like, what's the value to me as a customer? So the customer really needs to sit at the center. And it's you taking time. Sorry for the blurry image, but you kind of get the message. I nicked it from the internet, so I didn't create it myself, by the way. But that's beside the point. The point is it's important for you to really take some time to develop deep empathy with your customer. So understanding their pain points, understand where they are in their journey, and where they are in their relationship with you as a brand. So what's the personality of your customer segment? Have you thought through what your ideal customer will be? And what is that customer segment? I remember the last workshop we had with Dr. Paulette. She was talking about her business being attracted to executive women, and therefore she puts her energy behind the social media that is directed towards those women, and then she also uses that to time when her messages go out, because she knows that they are likely to be active at certain points in time. So it's really just understanding that customer segment. Can you walk in their shoes? Can you try to imagine what their lifestyle is, what they do when they wake up in the morning, when they go to bed at night, what keeps them up, what keeps them awake at night? What do they value in the interaction? Do they value convenience, or do they value on-time delivery? Think about Amazon. Why is Amazon such a godsend? Because they sell one thing, they sell convenience. So what is that prime thing that your customers value the most? And how are you going to understand their hidden needs? So this whole chart is all about that, because as you discover their hidden needs, then you start to think about where you bring value. And sometimes the value you create is not just the product that you offer, it's the extra thing on top of that product. we're talking about and I think Simon talked about her being a writer and the fact that she's based out in Lagos. It may well be that there is a scarcity of writers in Lagos, and she might be able to fulfill that gap in terms of helping to provide real-time and real-time content for the needs of that community. I'm not saying there's a scarcity of writers in Lagos. I know there isn't, but my point is that it's understanding where you create value, because that's what's going to help you to differentiate. So a little bit on that, because it will also come back later when we talk about marketing. So now let's discuss a little bit. Let's talk about things that you've tried out. So have you tried any of these things recently? So launching a paid campaign, so putting a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or doing something on Google search. Have you tried that recently? Have you gone on YouTube to post a video? Or have you gone on Facebook and Instagram live? Or even advertised on radio? So I'd love to hear from you to see what you've tried of late. Tell me. Anyone?
Well, I've not tried any of those, but I've heard about them.
You've heard about them. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? Anyone else? Done a podcast recently? I'm shy. Sai says she's shy. No matter what you talk about, if I did a live, I want to say the end of that statement, Sai.
Well, I've not tried anything now. I've not tried anything.
Well, maybe after today you might try something. Well, you have.
Actually, I sure will.
Yeah, you have actually. But yes, Google My Business page. Oh yes, that is a great one. That is a great one actually, and I hope to talk about that towards the end of the discussion. All right, so I'm going to start by just clearing a few myths. And that's because many times when we talk about marketing, people like to think about advertising. Oh, I am going to advertise my product so that people can see me and come and buy from me. But the first myth I want to debunk for you is that advertising and marketing are not the same thing. Does that sound odd to anyone? Yep. No, they're not. Advertising is actually a subset of marketing. So marketing is not advertising, but advertising is part of marketing. And it's only a small part of marketing, by the way. So it represents a very small fraction of marketing. Marketing typically falls under, a number of things. One is market research, which is what I touched on very briefly, which is trying to understand your market, really getting a good sense of your market. And I have a different course on that, on just value creation and innovation, which hopefully we'll bring back to the platform at some point. And then the strategy. Once you understand your market, the strategy you're going to take to approach that market is also part of marketing, but it's the thinking, the logic, the strategy. You hear people say things like go-to-market strategy. So market research and strategy are two things. Then there's the tactics of marketing, and the three work hand in hand, right? First of all, figuring out where you are, what problem you're trying to solve, how are you going to approach that in terms of a strategic approach, and then the combination of tactics to actually fulfill your marketing. So advertising is actually a slice of one of the four combinations that go into marketing, which is promotion. But there is something called the 4 P's of marketing. 1 minute, I just lost my area. The 4 P's of marketing, and I'm sure many of us have heard that. People talk about price, promotion, place, and product. That is actually, it's the combination of those 4 things that actually make up the execution of your marketing, not just one thing, not just advertising. So I've broken that down a little bit, and I'm happy to share a little bit more about this later. But if you went on Google, you will see all sorts. In fact, there is also the 7 Ps. So if you wanted to push it a step further, there's 3 more to be added to this mix. But the 4 ones I want to focus on is the 4 aspects of the marketing mix, which is your product. What are you selling? What are the features of that product that fulfill the needs of your customer? The place, where are you selling? So are you selling online? Are you selling through distribution? Are you selling in person? For instance, if you're a service-based business, are you actually delivering your service in person? For someone like Sai, who's a writer, are you delivering that through written text online or through published materials? How are you selling? That is a critical part of your marketing. And then the price, the strategy behind how you are selling. And the reason why price plays such an important role is because it is directly linked to your market segment. So if you're in the market for selling luxury clothes for children, your market is very different from the market between the needs of a parent that has disposable income and can afford a luxurious holiday and doesn't mind spending £60. I'm using pounds because of UNG on just a piece of play attire, or just a little skirt for a child. They don't mind. To the parent who is really concerned about value and quality and wants to buy that one piece of dress, that one dress for £60 that is going to be used for the whole year. So the one, on one hand, they're thinking more about convenience, and on one hand, they may be thinking about the quality of the product. Therefore, your pricing and how you resell the features of that product to them will vary, because the strategy could be you buy it once, it could be used as a hand-me-down. I don't know if you've noticed, like John Lewis do that. So you go to John Lewis and you buy a dress, 100% cotton dress, and it says can be passed down 3 times or something like that. So you're basically saying, well, it's expensive, but 3 children are going to use this product. So, but you see, there's a value play that they're trying to, so it's a combination that they're trying to communicate a value offering to the customer. So the combination of your product, the features and how you present the products versus the pricing strategy you put behind it is actually quite important. And then the final piece is the promotion, where everybody puts all the effort into. If these 3 things aren't right, so product, place, and price, and you are spending a lot of time yelling and broadcasting to customers, people may not see themselves in the equation. They may not see themselves using your products because you are just basically throwing the value of the product at them, and they do not see their needs being reflected in that product. So the marketing mix is actually a very important thing. And under promotion, you're thinking about the how you are going to advertise about your products, but also it's not just advertising, there's PR as well. Like, how do you leverage the people that can help you to spread the word about your brand? And that may not necessarily be influencers, it may be, but it also could be using relationships that you have with associations, newspapers, writers, etc., to create an awareness about your brand. And sometimes also that awareness does not necessarily lead to sales, it leads to trust. So when people know you are there, when they see other people speak about you positively, then they trust you, and your marketing techniques will then become influential in driving the sale. So that's enough about the marketing mix to start with. You will come back to this at some point in the future. So the other thing I want to mention is that marketing is not broadcast, so it is not a one-way street. It's not like the TV where you were just pushing stuff. A lot of that is advertising, right? But it's about speaking to your customers and listening to them as well. So this is the part that is exciting, because customers that hear about your brand are at different stages in their life cycle of interaction with you. And sometimes we don't even know who we are targeting and what stage they are, right? we're just targeting them anyway. And so this is just to help you to frame your thinking as to what strategy you're going to use for whom and at what point. So there's two groups. You've got your prospects. You've got people who have heard about you. They don't even know if it's right for them or not, but they've heard. And your job is to convert them to become customers, right? And then you've got existing customers who have bought from you in the past, and your job is to keep them in your ecosystem because they bought from you. So they've experienced you, they've experienced that value, right? And it's important to keep them retained and then turn them into advocates. So there's two circles working hand in hand with each other. At the prospect level, the first thing is to educate and create awareness. So my writing business, this is what I do. I am a ghostwriter. I am targeting aspiring authors who do not know how to put words behind their expression. I offer this service to this segment and who are at this stage in their business growth, and I can help them to realize this much results. This is how I provide this service. These are the tools you need to help you to effectively express yourself in written content. So education and awareness about your brand is one thing. Then there are people who have heard about you. They've heard about the products you offer. They've heard about your services. We've got a couple of people here who've interacted with us in the past. We've got Dr. Paulette, and we've also got Stephanie Sterling, who is a motivational speaker as well as an event lady, and she has a book. In fact, she does some amazing stuff. Stephanie, hi Stephanie. But now there's a point where people have heard about you, so they're aware that you exist, right? But they're also at the point where they're thinking about a solution. So, okay, I focus on helping people to heal from trauma. And I have a book about it, and I run events and courses online to support them. Okay, so, and I know you exist. And I'm like, okay, but I need help with this aspect of my life right now. I'm going to check you out. I'm going to check another person out there out. I'm going to check a number of people out, and then settle on one. On maybe based on the number of criteria that I've set for myself. Now, the consideration stage is the point where you are being checked out amongst other options. I sell jewelry, luxury jewelry. Okay, I know you do some really pretty good silver and gemstone jewelry, but I'm going to check out Amazon to see what they can offer me because I need it like yesterday. And so I'm going to see whether Amazon can help me to get that thing delivered in time versus you taking 3 days. So people are always going to be checking you out. So customers are at different life cycles. And then the evaluation. Okay, is this the right one for me? Okay, it fits the size of my pocket. It's so beautiful. I need it. I'm going to buy it. So education and awareness, research and evaluation and decision. It's at different stages. Now, if you put a lot of your effort on awareness, people are going to be aware about you, but are you giving them enough to choose you above other options out there? That's one thing I want you to think about. The second thing is, are you driving them to a place where they can actually purchase from you? So how are you converting all the interest to an actual sale? I'll come back to that point later. But once they are converted, then they need to be onboarded. Fine, okay, I finally bought the piece of jewelry. And then then you deliver it to them. What happens? What experience do you give them after that? I have one more person joining. Really do need to get some. Okay. There's something weird going on with the screen, so in order to admit someone in, I have to escape the full screen mode, which isn't great. But now they're onboarded. What is their experience? What experience do you give them in the service industry? It's so much easier. You know, I mean, we've got 2 people in the service industry, 3 people in the service industry here, because it's most of the time it's you they're interacting with. But what if you have your admin staff and your virtual assistants and all the other people that interact with them? what kind of experience do they get as they onboard your service into their organization? And what's the ease of doing business with you? Because that's going to determine whether they stick and they become advocates. Because ideally what you want is for them to stick so you get continued revenue from them and they bring other people in. So these two are working hand in hand for you. And they also help to establish trust as well. So the great way to do this is to think about the different places as part of that funnel. I just gave you a whole funnel description. So how am I going to attract? I want to attract, I'm new in the market. I want people to know I exist. I don't know how to go about it. Where are they? Where are people interacting with your type of business the most? Most times people say, yeah, I'm going to attract on social media. Yay! But you only have 10 followers on Instagram. How is that going to happen? Or you can have 100. The truth is that it takes a while to build your social following, but you may not necessarily build your digital following on digital channels. It's important to utilize other sources to build that following. So where do you have the best net worth? Where do people know you and where do they trust you? And where your target audience is, for instance, for the kids' clothing, how are they searching for the type of product? So attraction, remember, where are they predominantly based? Where can you build a reputation? Where can you build trust? This research is where are they searching? So kiddies' clothes, where are they searching? Yes, they're searching in Google, but people are searching elsewhere too. They are in schools, they are in they're in schools. Sometimes they're asking questions about different things. The parents are in the malls, they're out and about shopping. There is so many other options. The truth is, when it comes to digital, we only put our heads in the digital pot and forget that people are human beings that actually exist in the world. And they may be active. For instance, if you're in a service-based industry and you're dealing with a particular industry, you may also want to just form relationships in the chambers of commerce and also in the associations for that group as well. So how are they searching for these products? Where are they having the conversations around the products? And what alternatives are they considering? It's very important for you to know what your competition is, because you will always be stacked up against those competition. And then what will make them buy from you? So what is that differentiating factor and how will you keep them coming back? So now you've figured out all that, and this is all your strategy upfront. Then how are you going to communicate with them? So you figured all that. There's a plethora of opportunities. The honest truth is that you don't always have to rely on digital marketing alone. Especially at the beginning of your first 5 years, digital marketing will accelerate, but you need time to build the following. But you could combine both online and offline options. The key is for you to figure out the sweet spot that combines everything. So there is opportunities for you to advertise and for you to generate leads via sales. You can have a website and you can have a physical presence. And you may not necessarily have a store, but you could have a pop-up store where you're physically, showing up at different locations where your clientele will be. And this is not just for product-based business, even service-based businesses as well, like physically showing up. Human beings really value the human interaction, right? The truth is, if your brand is not well known out there, it's very difficult for someone to say, I'm going to buy from this person. So unless they've met you, they've spoken to you, or they've had a testimonial about you from someone else. So using offline media is actually complementary to your online media. And then there's also other combinations you can use. You may want to even put an ad out there in the newspaper. We have local newspapers that go to different localities. We have the city usually has some newspaper, some gazette or something that goes out. You could also think about using a bit of radio. I know someone was Stephanie, wasn't it? We had a conversation 2 weeks ago about someone hearing about her brand on the radio, and she was like, what? Because she had been on the radio some time ago. But you forget how powerful some of these media are. And the truth is that they may not be as expensive as you think, right? So there are lots of combinations to take. But the important thing is trying something and seeing if it works for you. If it does work, stick at it. If it doesn't, drop it as quickly as possible, right? Because there's a lot of options to take. Now, the important thing is to start from where you have the most active audience, your personal network, and you have easy access to promote. It's not going to cost you too much to promote on there. I hear the trusted community. I think I put your religious groups, family. What you want to do is to leverage your trusted community, particularly if you're in a service-based business where you may have had experience in that industry in another lifetime, right? People already know you. They know you. They trust you. They know what you can deliver. It's important for you to go back to that group and showcase your offering, because it's the barriers for them to buy from you is much less than somebody who doesn't even know you at all. You're still going to attract them, convert them, get them to make a decision. Whereas those who already know you will probably make a decision in a split second. So using the trusted communities and then using your past customers. And then figuring out, okay, where are your customers really? Are they predominantly online or offline? Even those who are online predominantly have offline lives. And that's one thing to bear in mind. So it's great to do stuff online because people are online, but bear in mind that people also they live in an offline world. So think about how you could touch them in that as well. And then, as I said, the important thing is to learn to discover how to narrow down. And this is the testing I was talking about, the lots of options available to you. You tried something, you see measure the response you get on that. And then if it works, great, stick to it. If it doesn't, move on to something else. And the important thing is, if you're trying, don't try at scale from the onset. So if I just launched my clothing business, for instance, I'm not going to be spending $1,000 a day on Google search, because I don't know that market well enough, and I don't know the keywords they're using, and I don't know the times in which they're using the keywords. Neither do I know the seasonality of their behavior. So me just blowing $1,000, it's just like, it's almost like a big gamble. You don't even know how it's going to work. But there's nothing wrong in you, maybe from time to time, near the festive season, just trying to see, okay, let me just run a $50 Google campaign just to get some insight, just to see, okay, did this really work? I can afford to lose $50, but losing $1,000 will hurt my business. So from time to time, you can experiment with little things just to see how the interactions are. I remember speaking to a lady who's a magazine publisher. They distribute these magazines that are in the supermarkets. I've forgotten what the name is, but over 50s magazine. And for the first time, they tried Google search. And that was how they were able to generate the traffic that went into the digital format of their magazine. The truth is, if they never tried it, they would never have realized that the digital format of their magazine was actually more attractive to a large extent than the ones in the store. But it took them giving it a go. And then like, okay, we actually got some traffic. We were able to get some affiliates to support our sponsors, et cetera, and then that led them to a new path for advertising. Otherwise, they would just have been dropping those magazines in the stores and hoping that somebody would pick them up one day. And the truth is, in the past, it worked for them as a strategy, but the times have shifted, and even the over 50s are now looking to online channels to engage. So the point is that in order for you to leverage digital channels, understanding what you want to achieve as a business is important. So are you trying to attract? Are you trying to make a sale? If it's to make a sale, is a digital channel the most effective right now? Do you think that people are in a position to just make that decision with the information you're giving to them outrightly? Or do you want to at least collect their interest and then cultivate that relationship? So your business objectives is important. Trying a campaign, trying your hands on a few things is also important. Then you analyze, and then you improve, and then you go back to the beginning of it again. So the other thing I was going to say, and which I said I was going to come back to, is what marketing tools are most effective at what stage. And I mentioned previously that your website is probably the most important tool for you. But your website on its own is not going to drive sales for your business. The website is the one that sits in the middle in the purchase point, which means all your activity should drive people to your website. And when they hit your website, that's when they really make that choice to buy from you in most cases. Sometimes they make the choice on Instagram and Facebook, but usually it's on your website or your website, web presence, or if they visit you in person. Right, so purchasing usually happens either in person, in your store, in your office, on your website, on your mobile app. So it's important to keep that channel working as hard for you as possible. But then when it comes to awareness, there are some channels that are more effective than others. For instance, PR, radio, print, word of mouth, display advertising. All that just keeps your brand at the front of mind. So when people start to consider, they think about you. Whereas marketing activities like search, paid search, like keyword search, email marketing, your website, so specific pages dedicated to a topic on your website, and your social media channels, and even direct mail, targets people at the point where they already have options. So sometimes you see people pushing out lots of stuff on Instagram and on Facebook. You have videos, you have this, you have that. Most of the time, that is just generating awareness for you, but it doesn't mean they're going to convert. There's two channels that really work very hard when it comes to digital for conversion, and that's email and search. And I'll explain why. With search, they are actively searching for that topic. I want a new pair of shoes. I'm searching for it already. So you've got that person at the point where they are considering a solution. They just don't know whether you're the solution, right? And there are certain things that will help you there. One is your search engine optimization. So how well your website shows up in the search. And also, if you can pay to have that come up a little bit stronger. Then email, people that you know, you send them an email and then they are able to receive it at that microsecond. There is something called a microsecond in marketing. It's that point when they're like, this person can help me before they get distracted with other things. So search and email are very powerful tools that help you. And further on, maybe over time, we can expand on how to use those channels more effectively. And then social media could also be important. The only thing about social media is that people don't go on social media to search for your products most times, except for when they're on LinkedIn or other environments where they are actually actively searching. For instance, I want to design a new dress. I go onto Instagram or I go onto Pinterest, right? Because I want to see what else is trending. So at that point, they are actively searching, but it doesn't work for all industries. Usually, Google search or Bing search, email marketing, and some social media advertising is what helps for consideration. And then the purchase, as I said, is your website. Your service offering is what really locks down the helps you to drive loyalty and eventually advocacy as well. So what else do you put on there? Your chats, your email, your interaction, your customer services, your newsletters to keep them updated on what's going on, your surveys, your loyalty program, that keeps them locked in. And the service helps them to determine whether they're going to stay with you or not. So it's a combination of this that really helps. And it's important for you to understand how your channels work. The truth is you don't have to do everything on here. You don't have to do everything. You could just choose word of mouth for awareness and a bit of PR. You may not even choose that. For your consideration, you may choose social media and email, but your website is an absolute must-have or your delivery mechanism. And then for service, you could also choose email, like email interactions, etc. But the point is that you have to know what channel is available to you and what value that channel is creating for you. Okay, we're almost running out of time. I've talked about the website and I've talked about it being an integral part of your activity. if people don't trust your website, they're never going to buy. So it's thinking very clearly about what material you can put on there to build trust. Affiliations that you have, logos that you have, payment providers that you have, length of time in business, the type of imagery you have on the website, how easy, the must-haves I put here, how easy it is to load, how professional the website is looking, the quality of your images, and also how up to date is your website. If they see, one of the things I put here is, will you trust a website that has latest news dated back as 2002? The truth is, none of us will trust that website. We'll probably think, oh yeah, they've gone out of business. But sometimes we deliberately put stuff into our website that makes our website dated. For instance, you have a blog that you haven't updated for 3 years because, oh yeah, COVID happened. But why is the blog still there? The fact that it's there makes people think or believe that there's something that isn't quite right. So it's keeping the content fresh and keeping it alive, or integrating with your social channels in the way that the website can stay alive and up to date.